Today we're going to talk about flare-ups and wrist pain. The road to recovery is never a straight line, and one of the most important things to understand is that flare-ups are a part of recovery. This video will teach you about why flare-ups happen, why how you respond to them is key, and a 4-step guide to get out of a flare-up. Here's actually a great image about low back pain that can capture this concept. How you manage flare-ups can be the difference between a short recovery, 4 to 6 weeks, or a long-term battle, 8 to 16 weeks. So why do flare-ups or setbacks occur? Mostly because recovering from an injury is a learning process for you as a patient. You're learning more about your body, more about how your wrist and hand muscles and tendons respond to various levels of activity. You're also learning a bit more about pain and the experience of pain and what might influence it on a day-to-day and weekly basis. All of these variables can lead to situations in which we, 1, use our wrists and hands too much after we notice a larger reduction of pain. 2, we happen to do something else with our wrists and hands, like lifting, carrying, driving, bowling, that we don't realize also utilizes the same wrist and hand muscles. 3, we might have work or life stress that can increase overall sensitivity of our pain. And 4, we progress our exercises too quickly. And there's quite a few more reasons. But during these flare-ups, the pain will feel worse. And it might even feel like how it was when you first began your recovery. And now there are 2 paths that individuals can usually take in this scenario. Scenario 1 is the Catastrophizer. And this person will think, here we go again. I'm never gonna escape this pain. I'm never gonna get better. This is a serious problem that only surgery can fix. Or my hands keep feeling pain even though I'm doing everything right. It has to be something else that's going on. I should rest and stop using my hand. It's gonna make things worse. Maybe this isn't the right approach. I should go back to what my other healthcare provider mentioned. In this situation, the individual fears that something more nefarious might be going on and focuses heavily on the pain. As a result, he or she might completely stop the exercises, aggressively rest, and maintain this for an extended period of time due to fear that something else is going on, or that it's going to make it worse. And in almost all cases, there's no other complicating factor, and we hold ourselves back with this doubt and fear. And it is a normal response. And not only can this increase overall sensitivity based on what we know about pain, but it can also lead to less overall activity, which we now know muscles and tendons need to develop its capacity. And this typically requires some good education from a physical therapist to guide them towards the right direction, while also appropriately managing pain and the beliefs around pain. And depending on this interaction, it can either get the patient back on track or continue to extend out the recovery timeline. And now let's cover scenario 2. This person understands pain and recovery. And they'll think, I overdid it a bit with my exercises. This is probably gonna last a couple of days. I'll focus on just managing the pain and doing as much as I can. It's normal that my pain is elevated since I've been dealing with this for a while. The pain is actually from my lack of sleep and when I used my hands a little bit more yesterday. I just overused it a bit yesterday since I was feeling good and it's just a minor setback. I'm gonna be okay. In this scenario, the individual has properly attributed their pain to a specific behavior, activity, stressor, belief, and understands that the elevated pain is temporary. They remind themselves of progress that has been made with their functional capacity, rather than focusing on how bad the pain is. And this is extremely important. The measure of progress should be on function, or how much you can participate in your activity, rather than how bad the pain is. And this is again because pain can widely vary depending on multiple factors, whether we're sleeping well, how much we're focused on it, how anxious we are, how much stress we're dealing with. So as an example, an individual with wrist pain might only be able to type for 30 minutes before feeling 3 to 4 out of 10 pain. And if this person takes a break, the pain will take several hours to reduce. After exercising for 4 to 6 weeks, the individual might be able to type for 90 minutes before feeling the same 3 to 4 out of 10 pain. And the pain goes back down to 0 out of 10 more quickly. Now, the pain itself might be the same and even worse at times, but the individual can do more. Function is a measure of progress, not pain. And I'll remind you again, we now know that pain is an experience, which means it can vary heavily depending on certain contexts and environments. Now let's focus a bit more on one of the common scenarios that lead to flare-ups, which is having less pain. After doing the exercises for 2 to 3 weeks, you might already begin to feel better. often due to nervous system changes and an improved understanding of what is going on. And during this time, many forget that your bodies don't just magically increase in its capacity within 2 to 3 weeks. And 2, all of the recent habits and lifestyle changes you've made to reduce your pain. From there, you might fall back into old habits which may lead to a flare-up. And again, this is where it's important to take the path of patience and understanding, or scenario 2. And sometimes it's absolutely difficult to remember, which is why I created this video. Now, we're going to be going over a more tactical guide on how you can actually manage any recent increase in pain. This is a 4-step guide on how you can manage your flare-up. The first step is to actively remind yourself that flare-ups are normal. See the entire first half of this video. And when you have an increase in pain, it's actually an opportunity to learn more about how your lifestyle, activity, and decisions may have led to some irritation. And while it may seem unnecessary, this mental frame is crucial to adopt as you navigate any flare-up and allows you to properly reflect on what may have led to the flare-up in the first place. And this leads us to step number 2, which is reflect and properly attribute. If you feel an increase in pain and limited function, there's always an underlying reason. Whether it be how much exercise you did that day, how much activity and the type of activity, a high demand or low demand, how much sleep you had over the past few days, the presence of stress and anxiety in your life, and how much you're focusing on your pain. All of these can contribute to an increase in pain and affect your function. And being able to properly attribute what behavior, environment, or activity led to that increase is important. And the 2 most common reasons for flare-ups are, again, 1, an increase in activity. When we feel better, we feel more confident about the ability to use our wrists and hands, and we forget where we are along the recovery process, and jump back too quickly back to a level of activity we're unable to tolerate. But sometimes we might increase our overall activity or physical stress without realizing it. And this might be adding some housework, more demanding work sprint, a long drive, gaming with higher actions per minute, or any other activity that we don't realize is actually of higher intensity, even though the duration might be the same. So you want to think back on the entire previous day or 2 before your flare-up to see if you might have done too much with any specific activity. And make an actual note of this because it's something you're going to have to use in step 4. The other reason is exercise changes and progression. Whether you're working through an RSI on your own or with a physical therapist, you may feel ready to increase the difficulty of your exercises. And there's actually not much information out there about how to safely progress, since most providers are behind in their understanding and little research has been published. This can lead to situations in which you decide to increase the difficulty by adding too much weight, performing too many additional sets or reps, or adding additional exercises you stumble upon online, like a gyro ball or rice bucket exercises. And your exercise should not lead to any increase in pain that lasts for the rest of the day. It should also not lead to a situation in which you wake up with pain and have altered ability to use your hands the next day. And if you experience that, then you've likely done too much. To safely increase the difficulty of your exercises to improve your endurance, do this. When you're able to perform 3 sets of X repetitions, let's say it's 12 to 15, for 3 to 4 days in a row without difficulty, add 2 to 3 repetitions per set and assess your response. Look to make this change at most 1 time a week and after the first 4 weeks of tissue adaptations. Now that you've been able to reflect and think more about what might have caused your problem, feel free to track it down, since this is going to be a reference point as what you should avoid doing as you get back to your previous level of function or exercise programming. When we're in a flare-up, you're also feeling pain, so you also need to deload and manage your pain. So during a flare-up, muscle or tendon tissue is typically irritated and it typically needs time to calm down, and that can widely vary for every individual. For those who are more deconditioned and have dealt with their injury for an extended period of time, flare-ups can sometimes last for 1 to 2 weeks. And this longer duration is often influenced by some of these psychological aspects of pain. I'll link that article in the description below. However, for most other individuals, it will vary between 1 to 5 days and depends on what actually led to the problem in the first place. So your goal during this time is not only to reduce the amount of exercise, but also activity. And the general rule is reduce your primary aggravating activity by around 50%. It can be more aggressive if the flare-up is more severe, so up to 75% reduction. So for example, if you primarily feel your pain with typing, and normally you use your PC and type around 6 hours a day, during a flare-up you might reduce the total amount to 3 to 4 hours, depending on how bad it is. If it's really painful and you feel severely limited in your hand use, then reducing to a total amount of 1 to 2 hours may be indicated, and distributing this total time. From there, you want to focus on pain management. And this could be ice, gentle massage, stretching, heating, kinesio tape, and medication as necessary. Weather the storm, because once it's over, you can move on to step 4, which is returning to programming. The last step is to get you back to the baseline as quickly as possible. You don't want to jump straight back to the same level of exercise and activity. You want to gradually return to what you were doing previously. And so using that same example above, if you normally type around 6 hours a day and your exercise programming was around 3 sets of 15 for all of your exercises, you could start with day 1, 4 to 5 hours, 2 sets of exercises. Day 2, 5 to 6 hours, 3 sets of exercise. Day 3, back to your baseline. Now everyone is different and can likely return to baseline at different speeds. And when you are back at baseline, use what you learned in step 2 to avoid progressing too quickly. You don't want to exceed what your body can currently handle, so gradually test your limit as you continue to get stronger. And these 4 steps should provide a decent starting framework for you to manage your flare-ups. But remember, these serve as a guideline, not rules. This is because we are all different and we all respond to changes in activity differently. We have different environments or contexts that may have led to the flare-up. So let these steps guide you in the right direction and remember what you learn with each flare-up. It will ultimately help you return to your baseline more quickly in the future. And now if you want to learn more about the science behind your RSI injuries, check out this video right over here.